Hello, I'm the D-Runner. In this analysis video, I will be analyzing the Rick and Morty series, and attempt to prove to you that the Evil Morty introduced into the series is in fact a future form of the Morty we have been following. By analyzing the scientific rules established in the series, especially on time paradoxes, interdimensional travel, and inception, analysis of Morty's behavior compared to Evil Morty, and showing the hidden Rick and Evil Morty story influencing events throughout the series. First, if the Morty we are following is going to become Evil Morty, I must show that our Morty is capable of pulling off what Evil Morty did, and that he is not just showing signs of he may be Evil Morty, but he has major pivotal similarities to Evil Morty. Now to see if C-137 Morty, our Morty, capable of pulling off Evil Morty's operation. Morty had been shown he has technical skills. He was able to defuse neutrino bombs that are capable of destroying a planet, as in the Vindicator 3 episode, and complained how drunk Rick keeps on building and activating them. Rick was surprised when he learned he knew how to defuse them, so that meant Morty was able to learn the advanced technology specs on his own for obvious self-preservation reasons, which is an impressive feat. Rick also teaches him the things he knows about details on scientific concepts, taught him how to use many gadgets, and his flying saucer as well. So Morty is talented and trained by Rick, giving him many ways to pursue all types of objectives. He not just has potential, but has viable options available to him through his mind controlling Rick by episode 2 Inception of implanting an ideal in a dream, making the person think it's her own. Ricks are geniuses that are capable of doing anything you can imagine, including setting up Morty's entire operation. Evil Morty just needed to convince Rick to do it, which Inception forcefully convinces others to pursue any objective you want them to. Here's why I believe it happened. First, the mind control Rick has a large mechanism around his brain that is big enough to hold his intact brain to be controlled, and Inception equipment small enough it could be in there as well. Also, Rick does a perfect Rick behavior which Morty has never been shown to be able to mimic, and scientifically, Morty and Rick brains waves are opposite due to massive differences they have in the most ways of the brain functions, which scientifically cancels the brain waves out like camouflage, making Morty be able to create distinct behaviors extremely unlikely with how different he is. But an intact brain would have that data readily available, including great tactical and strategy to attack the Citadel Ricks. Which Ricks are almost always an anime genius character that can do anything, which Morty on his own couldn't beat, but with a Rick who had time to plan and has been shown to be able to, the Inception technology only needed an intact brain to control Rick. He may have chosen something else, but he at least had one viable option. This Inception equipment would explain why Evil Morty let his mind control Rick die before moving on to a temporary peaceful plan in politics. The Inception ideals placed in his mind was never shown to be able to be removed. The murderous objective Evil Morty placed in mind-controlled Rick may still be there no matter how many peaceful objectives for his political takeover Evil Morty might give him. Mind-controlled Rick's continuous and vicious objectives may make a pointless followable trail for the authorities to catch him and therefore potentially incriminate Evil Morty. So Evil Morty simply made sure he died before moving on, as he couldn't move on with such a tainted Rick. Evil Morty also gained a large amount of political power as an underdog candidate in the major election for the Citadel Ricks, which all Mortys are viewed by everyone as inferior. To win politically, he'd have to have an insane amount of social skills, of seeing what really bothering people, helping them out, and being such a charismatic leader. When our Morty was split between two Mortys, which had a certain part of his personality in each one of the Mortys showed incredible amounts of skills in this regard, fixing everyone's problems, sweet-talking his way to anything, and charismatic skills that Evil Morty must have used to win the election. These were not accidentally created, it was always inside of him, these massive skills, as the split separated didn't create any new parts. So Morty has the skills inside of him to pull off the election, and his technical skills to pursue his operation of slaughtering and torturing the Ricks and Mortys. Rick also has been shown to be able to put his mind into a clone younger form of himself, giving Evil Morty, if he is from the future, the ability to be any age at this point, with countless years of experience and time to plan it, enhancing his chances to pull off his plans. Evil Morty does handle himself more maturely and confidently, like he's much older and experienced. He is distinctly different from all of the 14-year-old Mortys. Such advanced social skills will get revealed in only a few years as a young 14-year-old grows older. By how much Evil Morty did, he may be decades older at this point with plenty of time to master his social skills. Now the Evil Morty was extremely cruel, on levels sort of above our Morty. I may have shown how Morty could pull it off, but now I'll show the bridge between C-137 Morty and Evil Morty's cruel behavior. The Evil Morty clearly shows no sympathy for the countless Ricks and Mortys he tortured and killed. Now our Morty has no sadness seeing other Rick and Mortys die in large numbers during the fall of the Rick Citadel. Before the destruction of the Rick Citadel, Morty basically confidently and angrily said to the Rick Council, "You are all going to die when my Rick comes." During the destruction, they showed no sympathy for the massive slaughter that could have been up to 100,000 or more died, many of them Ricks and Mortys, only emotion for his family that was with him, and had been happily talking about slaughtering the Galactic Federation right after they doomed the Citadel of Ricks a couple of minutes before. They were successful in destroying the Galactic Federation, making the casualties obscene, and Morty didn't seem to care and was happy. And on Purge this episode, Morty went on a rampage killing everyone he possibly could, even the carrying masses of innocent, intelligent people. He thinks all the other Ricks and Mortys are inferior, okay with slaughtering them. Besides, Evil Morty's relationship to his Rick wasn't directly shown. All these other are displayed by Evil Morty. So they both share very similar sociopathic tendencies in how they treat other Ricks and Mortys. The skills needed and sociopathic tendencies are shared between Evil Morty and C-137 Morty. Now it's time to show my findings on analysis of what seemed to be a plan to only torture and kill other Ricks and Mortys. That this was not the main objective, but was steps to an even more complex plan, and of course show how he was able to pull it off, which will attempt to show he is future form of our Morty. Looking at how Evil Morty set the place up by the science fiction in the show was to prevent time paradoxes from episode 10 Wrinkle in Time. The jobs they were performing reflects the probability of creating a paradox. Our Morty has been shown to be terrible at accidentally creating paradoxes in all ways, so he gave himself tasks that kept him out of the way. This Evil Morty, who had been shown to be highly manipulative, skilled, and social, chooses to be submissive, only do simple tasks, and little emotion to prevent paradoxes. While Mind Control Rick has been shown to perform all types of complex activities in many completely different ways and not create a paradox. Except for constructing a device that requires willingness to change, which Mind Control Rick's job reflects this, as all devices and things used are all pre-constructed, and he's given the primary job of running the facility. Evil Morty, if looking for his past self, would have problems of infinite Ricks and Mortys he'd run into, leading to a need to test them. By looking at Evil Morty's prisoners and how they interact with C-137 Rick and Morty, there was strong indications this was a test to see if they were in fact the correct Rick and Morty. This is how. The prisoners Evil Morty had, the mind-controlled Rick and the prisoner Mortys, were in completely different situations with no similarities. But after a very short interaction, C-137 Morty with the prisoner Mortys and C-137 Rick with the mind-controlled Rick, they were each quickly told they were the ones they were looking for. Like they quickly passed a test that had countless other Ricks and Mortys in similar situations fail with horrible consequences, which not one but both did in a short amount of time. The traits that made them pass are what Evil Morty, past Morty, and Rick have unique to them, besides C-137 Rick being one of the rare Ricks to not join the Rick Citadel. Rick's mind was searched for unspecified information, which this Rick's interdimensional travel information for his home dimension, and able to figure out all types of information before traveling between dimensions, and able to predict Rick and Morty's demise and time of death that the doomed Rick and Morty were oblivious to, and always reliably get back home. With such dimensional travel data would give Evil Morty a distinct landmark in a theoretical infinite similar Ricks from infinite dimensions he could be looking at. Evil Morty would logically know the stronger, independent, and fighting spirit that his past self has and construct a test for it, and would have memories to know how it went, give him a detailed information on how the test must go. Also, the end result was too convenient. An alien creature Evil Morty owns has conveniently opened the door and says, "Keep it down," allowing the Mortys to attack the operation successfully and allow our Rick and Morty to escape. When in every other part of these creatures are seen shows no ability to speak, with this creature didn't move its mouth like it talked, but gave a convenient reason why it made the mistake. And somehow a group of Mortys with all their weak arms overpower these massive giant clawed horde of these creatures and didn't set off Mind Control's Rick's surveillance system, which he needed, with how this operation is about hiding from the Rick Citadel, allowing the angry Mortys to get him. Like someone just opened the door, let them win, and escape, thinking they outsmarted their captors after Morty passed the test, and also enough time passed to get the interdimensional home data for Rick's mind. They didn't outsmart the captors, they were fooled and released by them. Now, there seemed to have been a high danger C-137 Rick and Morty faced when Evil Morty was testing them. I believe controlled paradoxes prevented them from dying. This is how I believe it happened. Evil Morty absolutely decided on a not too dangerous plan on testing his past self and had eventually tested the right one, but the test would change his past self, therefore change him before he ever did it. This new self would remember how his past self survived and think of new ways to push them in harder without killing them with this new information, making the test to see if past self more accurate and just as safe. This could loop so much that making the test very extreme without killing the past self and Rick, which would explain why we went through life and death situations during the test, controlled time paradoxes. Though the test could give a reliable result, the test is not efficient enough to quickly search through the infinite dimensions looking for the correct Rick, as choosing to test Rick by if they decide not to join the Rick Citadel leads to infinite choices and battles with infinite Rick Citadels. He needed a way to dismiss most wrong choices somehow quickly without angering the countless formidable Rick Citadels. This actually can be answered by the very concept of an infinite dimension itself, a citadel of Rick's creation. There are countless citadel of Rick's in countless dimensions, but each time there is a major difference. Since they are formed by a set of connecting dimensions, each one could only have been set up by using dimensions that are always unique, as no two dimensions are ever identical. Each citadel of Rick would have used an extremely different set of dimensions, so each Rick citadel has significant differences that each uses completely different dimensions to make themselves. And of course, other Rick Citadels spot each other, they fuse, safety in numbers, while some never meet. And the equation to reach out to each other would, in theory, could be chaotic, no telling which type of dimensions are preferred, like cowboy Mortys could be chosen, or even hammers, making this variation more prevalent. There may be infinite Rick Citadels, but they must, by the very concept, be massively different from each other. This Evil Morty, if truly lost in the wrong dimension, needed some distinct landmark, like a citadel of Rick, to quickly dismiss large numbers of wrong choices efficiently, which he directly attacked C-137's Rick Citadel, probably testing them. After he was done, it would become really apparent to him that he was in the right one. So at this point, he didn't need the facility to search for them anymore. That was why Evil Morty didn't retaliate at all against T-137 Rick and Morty, as it destroyed his facility, which he could have easily done as he had shown to be able to with the amount of Rickless Mortys there were, and had the home field advantage as it was his facility. But he didn't, they were what he would set the place up to find and set them on their way to the time travel incident that will send Morty back. And he'll simply enter the timeline where the past Morty left at to continue his life. Now here's my last section. I saw a large stream of strange occurrences, realizing that this was probably in fact a major story playing out in the background. My theories say so things seem to have gone to plan for Evil Morty, that a major mistake was made, that during his analysis of Rick's brain, Rick, by being a genius, would have analyzed what he was analyzing. He would have accessed a screen showing memories he'd been accessed. By him directly targeting certain memories may make Rick completely aware of which memories there were, and saw the precautions against the time paradoxes. Rick would see this was a person trying to get back to the right dimension from a future time, and by how this mind-controlled Rick was missing the core, very rare emotional attachment to his Morty, he'd be able to trick the Rick to reveal he couldn't be him, and it must be the Morty. Here's a story I believe is there. During an incident, Evil Morty was torturing Rick and Morty to find out his way home. Both Evil Morty and Rick showed unusual strong emotions, like something happened in the background. Rick really finds out what will happen to Morty, which he cares about, and would seeing Morty in such a twisted form, knowing that he probably was responsible. When looking at his memories of the innocent Morty, he would start crying at a minimum instead of hide his emotions, seeing the corrupted Morty. Evil Morty is just one, but had a bad conversation with Rick, in which Rick may have logically said, "What happened to you? You're not the same Morty I care about, but I know you are." Morty has been shown to take Rick not viewing him as a person he cares about really badly, and shown to cry and get emotional. Morty was expecting to get back to his previous life, being welcomed back with open arms, but it may not work out anymore with Rick knowing. He'd leave angry. After that, when the Council of Ricks were apologizing to Rick and Morty for accusing Rick of committing the murders that Evil Morty did, they tried to make amends by giving Rick a free replacement Morty coupon for in case the Morty dies. Now, Rick cares about Morty. He would never abandon him like that, but behind Morty's back took the ticket. But seeing what twisted things he knows his Morty will do, he took it just in case as a precaution, giving him options to deal with the horror that is coming. At the end of the episode where Evil Morty tortures the Ricks and Mortys, says to Morty, a cocky Morty is bad for everyone. The trait of Evil Morty believing he is better than everyone, which is a form of cockiness, is the most dangerous characteristic of Evil Morty, giving him the reason to kill everyone. Rick says he'll explain what he means in the future, foreshadowing, I'm going to have to, when you replace Bastard Morty, make changes to that particular behavior. During the Rick All the Time episode, Rick actually believed that Evil Morty was about to be created, which was wrong, but he still believed it. As Morty and Rick were falling through the time void, they had two devices that could save each one of them individually, but Morty told Rick he lost his. At that moment, Rick did the calculation. We have been falling about a mile into a time void. There was a 64 parallel timelines going on at the same time due to complications in time void, and he was going to use a completely unknown device that works in unknown ways to save them. That probably, if he saves Morty, may not work right and send Morty not to the proper time and become Evil Morty. And answer why he wasn't with him to easily bring him back. Rick would have died. On top of that, Morty was already explaining the inception techniques and time paradoxes that Evil Morty could be able to use to pull off the operation. It all added up. Rick got emotional and put the device on Morty, saving him. He then looked angry. As he thinks about what twisted things Evil Morty will do, he then says, I'm okay with this. He looks sad and he says, be good, Morty. Be better than me. Better is not a word Rick would use lightly. He believes he's better than everyone else, and though he cares about the family, he knows he is better and it is an important concept to him. But he referred to Morty as being better than himself, knowing the powers an Evil Morty will obtain, which is better than him according to Rick's logic. And to be good Morty, he knows Evil Morty did the evil things to get home, and that means the objective to do evil things will come to a conclusion when he does. With how emotional Rick got about Evil Morty, he hopes the objective when finished will also have Evil Morty stop doing bad things, but Rick survived and Evil Morty wasn't created at that point. The episode Rest and Realization, the one with the split Mortys which was mentioned earlier, is the next point Rick thought Evil Morty was being created. We started the point Rick fused his two selves together. Rick was then able to use his mind to evaluate the non-toxic Morty that fled. That every single major trait of Evil Morty by what he saw of non-toxic Morty and see the toxic Morty contain, all attributes of Evil Morty are in non-toxic Morty. The political, technological, and ruthlessness was there, and he just got away, and by how he talked to him when he was going in the future, he knows he didn't save Morty. That is, Morty was split and you will not be able to fuse them together, especially how powerful Evil Morty will become, and how good he is at beating Rex. In a sense, Morty was dead. He looked down at Toxic Morty and said, there was a part of me that really wanted to save you. A strange statement, but this background answers why. With how twisted Evil Morty is and how Rick has a way to restore him, Evil Morty will come for him. There's going to be a battle. If Rick's going to survive, he has to fight to kill Evil Morty, not to try to save him anymore. After they restore Morty to his normal self, Jessica, Morty's love interest, tells Morty that Rick was emotional and drunk on the phone, asking for help. As Rick was emotional and hit hard by the situation of losing Morty like that, which Rick being shown he doesn't take this well, crying seeing innocent Morty images, this would explain such unusual behaviors. And since he was drunk, he might have told Jessica what is going on, as drunk Rick does say things he shouldn't say. Jessica might know and keep her mouth shut, but may make her a major player in the events to come. Now to move on to the episode Rick Lantis Mix-Up, where Evil Morty took over the Rick Citadel politically. Now the Rick Citadel, before C-137 Rick attacked it, was a complex, thriving society. Rick transported that society to a just as big space station, instantly causing explosions as they tried to occupy the same space, and then an army poured in, slaughtering countless surviving Ricks and Mortys, as it was one of the most important facilities of the Galactic Federation. Someone is going to want revenge, and by someone, one of the countless overpowered geniuses Ricks to countless Ricks in a military strike. Doesn't help that Rick transported the Rick Citadel to his own dimension during the attack, and after that just went to his publicly known address. Evil Morty needs to remove this fatal problem. The trust he earned by addressing the depression problems would let him be able to trick all the Ricks and Mortys to gather into certain areas with the guard down so he can kill every last one of them, allowing Evil Morty to rejoin his Rick with no need to wait for their own demise. This seemed to go to plan, but detailed information distributed exposing Evil Morty. But the Rick Citadel investigation on the Evil Morty operation turned out nothing. Only C-137 Rick is the only one who could have distributed this information. No one else had a clue that Evil Morty was dangerous. Meaning C-137 Rick was motivated to fight Evil Morty when faced with the extinction level genocide of all other Ricks and Mortys. In the final episode, the title and description shows Rick will face Evil Morty in the final showdown. But this future episode sneak peek shows no sign of the showdown. Like they're talking about two different stories. Here's how they're related. If Morty ever interacted with his Evil Morty, he'd create a paradox, potentially destroying Evil Morty. So Rick, to stop Evil Morty but still keep him alive, would need to make sure C-137 Morty didn't know. This place Morty's in the previews for that episode is a highly isolated, cut off from the outside world, underground and secret facility. Morty would have the least likelihood of ever seeing anything happen on the outside in those conditions. Even if the world starts to end, Morty would be one of the last to know. And since this was far too convenient for a random adventure to give Rick such an opportunity to isolate his Morty as he goes after Evil Morty to prevent time paradoxes from killing Evil Morty, it probably means Rick caused the problem that is happening in that episode. I do not believe there's any more relevant information on things I focus on in this video, so I'll end my video here. My personal opinion, I think this theory shows a situation that's so dangerous that it could give rise to a tragic conclusive series finale of the Rick and Morty series. If Rick stops Evil Morty, the genius Ricks of the Citadel will probably figure Evil Morty out and hunt him down, unlike last time where he carefully didn't reveal himself. They know he's murdering. Only reason he escaped the overpowered genius Rick is they dismissed him as a harmless and unrelated to the horrors that was done. If Rick fails, then the genocide could have C-137 Rick choose to never allow such a horrible person to travel with him again. Rick revealing who Evil Morty is puts Evil Morty in a lot of danger, therefore there's a lot of tension already. The most likely outcome would end any relationship between Rick and Morty, which this series Rick and Morty title says both of them, not just one, therefore no more series. Time will tell as the season 3 finale gets released and future seasons happen. I hope you enjoyed this being my first quick release video that didn't take a month like the others, but this time 18 days and on a completely different subject. This was definitely a change on how I usually make analysis videos, and I hope you enjoyed it. This has been a Deer Runner, the runner of deer. Thanks for watching.